Well, we just had our first Kentucky snow, and that means it is time for me to start planting. Yes, that may seem counterintuitive. It's cold right now, it's 28 degrees, there's snow on the ground, everything is dead or dormant, but right now is the perfect time for me to start plants. But I'm not talking about your tomatoes or your peppers, your warm season crops. I'm not talking about your brassicas or other things that may do well in those colder temperatures. I'm talking about native plants. Right now is the perfect time to get your native plants started, and I'm going to tell you why and the different ways that you can do it. And the winter time isn't the end of the growing season. It's actually the beginning for native plants. Native plants, particularly the ones in my area, I'm in Kentucky, have evolved to make use of the winter, to actually require it. Because as the ground is going through that thaw, freeze, where you got rain, you got snow that's softening up the ground, it's priming it to take in those seeds. So if you've got a wildflower patch, those plants might be holding onto their seeds, maybe they've dropped them and they're sitting there, it's the perfect time for the ground to take in those seeds to have them ready for the spring. At the same time, they're going through something called stratification, that cold period which is breaking down the seed coat to prime it to be ready to germinate when the warm weather hits. But you gotta get them in place now. Now, as I said, snow is a great time to be sowing seeds, direct sowing the seeds, because I like it because the snow is nice and white so you can see where your seeds are going, especially those fine seeds that you can have with the native plants. I'm going to be sowing some seeds. I've got this Southern Showy Retention Basin mix from Roundstone Native Seeds, a great seed company if you are in the kind of southeastern part of the United States, Midwest. Definitely check them out. And then I also have some leftover of this seed mix from Prairie Moon. They're based up in Wisconsin, I believe, another good seed company. These are probably my two favorite native seed companies. So I'm going to be broadcasting them in this area behind me. But you can't just broadcast it anywhere. You do have to do a little bit of soil prep. So I've been prepping this area since summer, getting rid of all of the non-native plants, the weedy species, to have a nice blank slate for winter when it does snow. So I've primed this area, been working on it for a while. You want it to have nice bare soil under that snow, not too much debris from other plants, mulches, leaves. So I know that I can plant in this area right here. I also have these flags in place so I know where to actually plant my seeds. And by doing this, we're letting winter do the stratification. So you don't need to put the seeds in a fridge, no bags of moist sand or perlite or other things that you could do, just using the weather. And if you have squirrels, voles, or like I had this year in my garden, a rat, you may want to do it after snowfall during the freezing temps so that everything can't easily see it, because just the way that you can see the seed, all the other critters can also see the seed. And then once you have everything planted, really, you just wait. You let nature do its thing, and once it starts to warm up, you're gonna have plants emerging. Now, some may wait until May or June, or really take 2 years to finally emerge. That's not a failure on your part. That is nature doing its thing. So that's the first way that you can make use of wintertime cold for planting your native plants. And then if you're hesitant to just broadcast seed, especially expensive seed, out into nature and just let nature do its thing, I totally get that. You can do what is called winter sowing, to use a container like a milk jug to turn it into a little mini greenhouse. Now, I've made a full video on that, which I will link to up above, down below, but I'll give you the quick rundown right here. You take a milk jug or a similar clear container that lets light through. You add 3 to 4 inches of soil, potting mix. You scatter native seeds on top. Don't bury them. You water once or pre-moisten the soil. You tape the jug closed and you leave it outside all winter. That's it. The jug becomes a mini greenhouse that freezes and thaws naturally, and once the temperature is right, usually late March or April, they sprout automatically. No grow lights, no heat mats, no trays inside your house, just a jug of native plants. This year, much like last year, I'll be starting close to 100 different species using milk jugs. And I'm also going to try some different experiments with stratifying things in my fridge, planting indoors. So I've got a lot of different native plants experiments that I'm going to be working on that I may be making videos on, because I think I'm going to get into having a little backyard native plant nursery. Very small scale, but we'll see how it goes. More on that in the spring probably. And winter doesn't just have to be about sowing seeds. There's actually several things that you can do now to get ready for the spring. One of the big things that I've been working on are removing all of the invasive plants from my property. Now this right here is a honeysuckle. It still has green leaves on it, even though we've gotten down into the mid-20s. There's other things like winter creeper, which I can see just off in the distance. Those things stay green longer, which in the wintertime makes it easy to spot them. So you can either manually remove them. If you have a little bit of warm spell, maybe you can apply some herbicide, and you don't have to worry about there being other plants impacted because they're all dormant and underground. So right now can be a great time to work on invasive species removal to have those areas ready for the spring, maybe to transplant all your nice little plants that you've been growing in those milk jugs. At the same time, winter is a really good time to be mulching your gardens and your beds. This goes for both natives and for vegetable patches, because in the spring, especially in Kentucky, once it starts warming up, things get really, really muddy. And taking a wheelbarrow and heavy compaction on our clay soil is not good for it. So while the ground is frozen right now, it's actually much more durable. So you can go around with a wheelbarrow and be putting mulch in places, and that way it's already ready in the spring. One less task and a lot less mud. If you haven't already done so, now might be a good time to protect your delicate plants that you planted in the fall that might be gnawed on by critters looking for a snack in the winter. This is a cage that I have put around a black tupelo. Winter is also a good time to get a lay of your land. Because everything is dormant, the leaves are down, you can kind of see a little bit better, especially for me and my property, lots of areas that are heavily wooded, kind of what the structure is. You know, what is the understory layer of bushes? Are there bushes? Where can you maybe add some more things? And what I'm actually looking for right now are, what are the food sources? What's the stuff that is feeding the animals right now? If I can't find any, that means that I need to be adding them, because that's something that I'm concerned about, supporting wildlife all year, not just when things are green. And maybe you don't want to be outside when the weather is cold like this. I totally understand. I'm not the biggest fan of winter. I have grown to appreciate it as I'm trying to be a little bit more in tune with nature and the cycles, but I know it's not for everyone. So you can still start seeds indoors now and replicate that winter environment in your refrigerator, but in your refrigerator, not your freezer. That's going to be a little too harsh for a lot of your seeds. But make sure to check your stratification codes, how long they need to be stratified, because some things like Ohio spiderwort, I need to be starting now because it needs 120 days to be ready for the spring. So look that stuff up. I'll include some links. Can you hear the waterfall? I don't know if you can see it, but one of the things that we have been doing is clearing away a lot of the invasive stuff, mostly honeysuckle. And because of that, we can now see this awesome waterfall. But I'm going to be planting out, more natives here. And now is really when I'm gearing up for my natives. Because if I haven't sold it to you yet, winter is a great time. It's the perfect temperature for stratification, outside, no refrigerator necessary. You're going to have the right moisture because of the snowfall, the rainfall, the ground is ready and primed, and you've got the time to be able to do it. So maybe rethink winter as a dead time not to be gardening. Yeah, I wouldn't start tomatoes right now, but a nice purple coneflower, a Rebecca, so many different things that you can be starting right now to have a great, great, beautiful garden teeming with life come spring. Do you have any questions about native plants, about sowing things in the winter? Let me know in a comment down below. I am very cold. I don't know where I was going with this next statement, so I'm going inside. My name is Tyler Lloyd. I wish you the very best. Bye.